Hey everyone, Matt Beamer here, Club 1040 live Q&A, and we've got some fascinating questions to talk about, including why did Julie post rest in peace, Julie? So we'll talk about that. We've got another couple questions there that are really good. We're going to talk a little bit about uh, uh, why am I doing my master's right now? I graduate this month. I'll touch base on that. And how do you build relationships with the local community as we break ground at new locations? And do we have a student story to share? And we have an amazing student story to share where because of your partnership, the Bible College launched in Beirut is enabled over the last year or so a church to grow from about 50 to around more than 300 people, outgrowing their space. It only seats like 70 people, and they. You think about this in a time where the economy is collapsing and during a war conflict, they've launched out into a building project. This couple has only been come to faith in 2019, January 2019, and so they're just 5 years in the Lord, and their life was a mess. Their marriage was a mess, everything. And some YWAMers came alongside and shared the gospel with them. They came to faith, and they just started sharing with their friends and the people in their community what God had done in their life, completely healed and restored their lives, restored their marriage, just supernaturally. And so then before long in their house, they've got a bunch of people meeting there. And before long, those people started calling them pastors, like, what do we do? And then you started a Bible college in 2023 as that house church grew to be a vibrant youth, young community, passionate filled community of believers on the border of Syria and Lebanon, very close to the border there in the Bekaa Valley. And then you started the Bible college. And now in order for them to do that, they have to come across the mountains. It's an hour and a half, 2 hours. And there were many times where there were because of the Air Force from the country south, the Israeli Air Force, they would be tracking people, and they would take out vehicles on that road that they were using to cross over to Beirut. But they were faithful. They themselves and a group of young, passionate core leaders would come every weekend to be trained. They completed the first level. Now they're in second level. And just by applying the principles they learned in the Bible college, church growth principles, and then principles of faith and doctrine and truth and being led by the Holy Spirit, how to program their schedule with, we talk about all kinds of practical things as well as the spiritual things. And as a result of that, their church grew from about 50 to 70 people to over 300. That's like 600% growth in a year's time. Well, they have to have several meetings a week. So like we need land, and to get land in an area where it's predominantly, controlled by other influences to build a church is nearly impossible. But they stepped out in faith. They got the land. And then it's how do we, build this? It's going to cost $350,000, $400,000 to build this new church. It'd be one of the first churches built in a very long time in that area. I'm talking, multiplied decades, and it'll be the largest church venue of our doctrinal persuasion in that space outside of Beirut. So a massive thing. Well. And then here's the thing, only 2 or 3 weeks ago, as they already had all the foundations in the ground and stuff like that, and they're about ready to pour the concrete slab, they got a notice from the local, well, I won't go into too much detail, but got a notice that they had to cease because of some misinformation that had been sent that way, some nefarious misinformation. But they just continued in faith. And then also Matt and Julie Haddabaugh and the team have been making provisions to cover churches. So the Go Church Beirut, and this is funny for those of you that know us, but the Go Church Beirut is formally in Lebanon on a part of the Baptist community that allows us to cover churches. And Matt was able to come and be able to make sure that their independent congregation could be considered underneath the covering of Go Church Beirut. And then Then also the business person who was making the land available, and this is a cool story about the land. They were looking for land way outside, and a business person found out. He's like, look, I got land literally across the street from where you meet right now in the commercial venue where they, like I said, had about space for 70 people. They're like, why don't you build right here in this place? And so the land is in a very prime place where major roads intersect between Damascus and Beirut. And so Damascus in Syria. And so the goal is that this venue would be also the location of the second or the next campus for the Bible college, so that people can come from Syria to be trained there, as well as it makes the, so a number of people couldn't make the journey, an hour and a half, 2 hours, and some parents didn't want their kids to do it, to go all the way to Beirut for training. So this makes people on the east side of Lebanon, across that ridge of mountains that goes through Lebanon, it allows access to that. So I want you to hear from them, because you Club 1040 partners, everything that comes into the general fund of Club 1040, we take 10% of that and put it in a tithe fund. And we use that fund to help with projects like this. From time to time, and they needed an extra $13,000, actually 18. Another partner provided 5, and then Club 1040 provided 13, so $18,000 to complete the foundation with the pour of the slab. If they wouldn't have had those funds, then they would have taken down all the forms and all that work and that sort of thing. So here's an update from the couple themselves. Have a listen.
We are on the site of the construction of the biggest spirit-filled church in the Bekaa region. And this wasn't possible if it wasn't for your generous support and continuous encouragement. We say thank you, Club 1040, for everything you've done for this nation.
Especially Pastor Matt and Julie Beamer for your support. This work now is possible, and we can dream big because of your support. Now I want to just explain, what is this? This is not just a church for gatherings, believers, and for the Holy Spirit to move on the big inside the city and to open the city for Jesus. But this is also going to be used as a training center to train leaders, so to go across this nation and plant churches across the Middle East. So this is huge, and you are changing the Middle East while sowing into this project. So we want to thank you.
Awesome. So in addition to that great report, I want you to know that that same congregation is already starting other works. There's a Druze community that didn't have access to church, and they're helping with that as well. So many amazing things happening. That's an answer to your question. Do we have any student stories? Isn't that amazing student story that you are making possible? And so why do we do these Club 1040 live Q&As? We want to give you, every first Thursday of the month, we want to give you an opportunity to ask questions like that. We'll try to do our best to respond to them. You can ask questions all throughout the month. We capture those questions. You can just send them through social media. We'll try to capture those questions, or you can email admin@club1040.com, and we'll try to respond to those in these live Q&As. Gives you that ability to interact with the very people who you're transforming their lives. So what else is going on? And I'll get to some of the other questions in a minute, but let's talk about Club 1040. For those of you that are new and listening and watching, Club 1040 is more than a name, it's a vision. A club is a group of like-minded people who come together around a common purpose and mission. And 1040 is that 10th parallel and 40th parallel. And we specifically at Club 1040 focus on the 22 countries across the Middle East, North Africa, or often called MENA region. And the aim is to train, mobilize, and inspire. Those are the 3 ways we do that. And we do that to train local church planters and leaders who will start hundreds of churches and dozens of Bible colleges throughout the Middle East, North Africa region. You see an example of that in that story. And then also mobilize at least 100 near culture workers, missionaries, to go from their countries in the Middle East, being trained in these Bible colleges, to countries that don't have evangelical works. And we've been really opening the doors with a lot of security sensitive nations. talk a little bit more about that. And the aim is to really see those mobilized by 2030. And then also we get to do what we get to do, and that is inspire you and the church globally that we can make this generation, the generation that reaches every nation. We call that T-Gen, this generation, every nation. So, make sure you share this. Stories like this is a great way you can help and to tell others about it, spread the word. And then also, if you don't get the twice monthly, we send out an email. And if you haven't received our 30-year celebration vision magazine, that means we don't have your address. If you haven't received the hard copy in the mail and you want to receive a hard copy in the mail, it's a beautiful magazine. In fact, there's a bunch of them here. Let me go get one real quick. So here it is, the magazine, 30 years, and there's all kinds of stories of what you have made happen and transpire, as well as, like, for example, on this spread here, we talk about the different ways that we go into places and accomplish the work on your behalf. So the process, what does it look like? This spread right here, the process. The first step is prepare to launch, then launch strong, then build the sustainable models, and then replication. So if you haven't got that, it's because we don't have your address. And so please, if you want it, just drop your address in there and we'll make sure you get that. And by the way, I'm in the Club 1040 US new office headquarters. We turned the barn into an office, and a property that a partner's given us access to in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And thank goodness for their generosity. It allows the Club 1040 to be here free of charge. After a bit of a significant building project, we have completed the project, the expansion part of it, with bathrooms and kitchens and stuff like that, kind of through that doorway there. But then also, we're believing to be able to have the full build out here. So lots of stuff going on with Club 1040 that you're a part of. Anyway, so what has Matt and Julie Beamer been up to over this last month? Well, in the last sort of 8 to 10 weeks, we've been in 5 or 6 countries and been launching the UK office. We've been specially focused on teaching in the Bible College in Beirut. Let me talk a little bit about that for a second. So in Lebanon, we arrived early in the month, and we did 2 training sessions over this period of a number of weeks. Strategic planning and program management. And this was really exciting because as a part of it, everything we do, I heard one person say what's taught in most theological seminaries and Bible colleges is not usable in everyday ministry. And so we try to build this Bible college on that. We take even the practical training that we have, the real applied theological training, and we try to even make it even more practical. And one of the ways we do that is in the training, the students got into groups and they created a project based on the principles they learned there. And they all were using the Alpha course as their project. And then they all, the next week, presented on their projects. And I'm telling you, they did phenomenal. And if you're not familiar with Alpha, it's a relational outreach. And you can go to Alpha Course, just do a Google search for Alpha Course. It's out of Holy Trinity Brompton Church in London. And over 20 million people have participated in it. Well, anyway, it is so good. You have a meal together. There's a little video. You have questions and answers time, and they're focused. Some people did a business alpha. Some people wanted to focus on mothers that have had children in this particular culture, without being married. That's a really challenging thing. There's some that wanted to go into prisons or wanted to go into drug rehab side of things, and they've created these projects. So that's like a really practical way. Your support is really, not just teaching the principles, but they're applying the principles. Another thing that happened during that time is we then talked about pioneering. And pioneering has 2 parts. It has a foundational pioneering, which we talked about, who a pioneer is, what kind of person is a pioneer, the principles of pioneering. But then also at the end of this second level training, they'll receive church pioneering specifically. But a lot of things, whether you're starting a business or a Bible college or a nonprofit, societal change agency, or a church, they have some of the same principles that are necessary. You need to have clearly defined vision and purpose, and executable plan. You need to have a team, resources, scheduling out the launch, all those things. And so we talked about the things in general, and then the students themselves got into groups again, and they created projects and pioneering projects. And some did businesses, and some did Bible colleges, some did churches, and some did NGOs or nonprofits. So you are, as you continue to scholarship the Lebanese students, we appreciate everybody that have made it possible for these students in a place where the economy is completely, been challenged significantly. As I just was looking at, like, year on year, there was 100, 200% inflation for a number of years. Thankfully, things are beginning to level out a little bit there, and at a perfect timing. Okay, so not only that, but then also in the month of April, we celebrated 2 anniversaries for the family of churches called Go Church. We started Go Church in Manchester 28 years ago, and on April 13th, it celebrated 28 years, and it's growing and doing great. But then also, and we didn't do this on purpose, but it just seemed to align that when the church in Beirut was launched, it was launched on the same date, April 13th. So those 2 anniversaries are aligned. So Go Church in Beirut has also celebrated 3 years. And in fact, the cool thing about that is after the first year, Julie and I turned it over to Matt and Julie Hadabah and the Lebanese team. And that was after the first year, and this is now the 3rd year. And for the last 2 years, the church has been fully self-funded from the local leadership there, and they are reaching out and developing opportunities to influence and impact literally hundreds and hundreds of people's lives, especially during this time of war, when there's been displaced people, there's been people out, sharing the love of Jesus with people in the streets on a regular basis. So after that, we also were in Egypt working with the team. And in fact, while we were working with the team there, a team from Lebanon came, because one of the big points of success is where the Egypt team and the Lebanon team are beginning to collaborate at a level that improves everybody learns from each other, everybody grows together. And so we had a tremendous time there focusing on relaunching the 2nd level there. And what I loved is we were able to spend time with the core leaders. And what I would do, this is how I normally work, is I would say, okay, here's what we want to achieve together. You guys work together. And then I'm going to come in towards the end of the day, and you're going to present to me, and I'm going to redirect or coach you on what needs to happen. And then the following day, and then they spent some more time, and they actually spent quite a bit of time over the evening. And then the following day, all day long, the Arabic-speaking team members led the whole time together. And so the Lebanese team had a great impact on the Egypt team there. Together, we're strengthening each other. So you're making that happen too. Working together is working smarter. So loads of things going on. Let me talk to you a little bit about this question now as we kind of round up for this morning's live. You may have seen Julie's post here. I don't know if you can see that, Julie's post. I don't know if that's backwards or not, but rest in peace, Julie. And so she has gotten a huge response off this. She didn't intend to do it, but we were laughing so hard. Some of the comments, she's had like 86 comments and like 15 shares. If you haven't read through it, she wrote about, you can read the story behind it. But there's like this one here where Duke, he's like, the first 3 seconds, he says, the 3 seconds of flip, he says, 3 seconds of flipping out before I realized it was a post, and then Julie Beamer hadn't passed. And then Julie Beamer's daughter, Elizabeth Beamer, our daughter, she says, oh, that's not my fave thing to see when scrolling. So some of the comments were great. So I encourage you to check it out. Check out what she wrote there too. But I do want to say, some of the questions coming forward, I do want to say she's fine. She didn't pass away into eternity. She's 100% here, even though she's not with me today. Okay, so another question that came up is, let me see here if I can go back to it and find it here, is why are you doing your master's? So that kind of comes to why we're back in the States here in May, is since just before COVID, I started my master's And I did it in a secular degree field, international relations. And the reason I did that is because a lot of places where we go in this day, you can't use a theological degree as a, it's not good from a security perspective that all of your education is theological. And many times you have to put on your visa applications your degree status. And many times you have to have a master's degree. And I'll go on and do my doctorate as well, because if you're starting a college, some places require that you have to have a PhD, a president over with a PhD in order for that to be officially recognized by the local government. So that's one of the reasons. And then also we're lifetime learners. We just want to learn and grow. And so I've been doing, since then, my master's degree. And this week, I'm literally have 1 week left. On Saturday, I give my presentation. And then on the week Wednesday, I have my final submission. And then on May 28th, I graduate, finally. Glory, glory. In Cambridge, Massachusetts, at one of the universities has been in the news a lot recently. Anyway, so and I've learned so much, and my experience there has been really a positive one. So, coming from a conservative background, everybody there that I've interacted with almost everybody has been very liberal, but I still have been able to present my views and then learn also how different people think in this world we live and how to navigate those things. So it's really helped me in so many different ways and dynamics. But before that, we actually begin our 30-year tour, celebrating 30 years of working and living overseas. As we turn things over in Lebanon, and before we get resettled, our aim is to be fully settled in the new country in March. We'll tell you more about that as we go. And as we go on tours, some of the stuff we talk about in churches and locations that is not broadcast live and that we can't talk about in these lives, we'll talk about in those locations. So if you're available and if you're there, then please come out. So on May, let's see what it is, the weekend, let me get my notes here, make sure I give you the right information. I just moved it all around. Okay, yes. The weekend of May 24th, 25th, we're at Abounding Grace in Schenectady, New York. And that will be, I think, the 10th location this year already. Then the weekend, then we'll be in Cambridge, Massachusetts for a number of days. My kids are coming in for that graduation time, and that'll be fun. Then June, the 3rd through the 5th, in Kansas, the CLUB1040 kids will be at City Center Church. There will also be then right after that, a number of the team, Julie and I as well, will be in Olathe, Kansas at the Go Conference there. And then on the 8th in Warrenton, Missouri with Pastor Terry Roberts at FCFC. They're one of our board members and longtime partners. And then we're really traveling through Ohio up into Michigan. So we'll be in Wilmington, Ohio at Faith Family Church with the Rodenhamels. We'll be in Marion, Ohio after that with Family Life Church and the Tonys, Tom and Kathy Tony, and then finishing up the month of June in Sterling, Michigan at Grace Christian Church. Then we're off to going to do something for the team at Valley Family Church in Kalamazoo, and then onwards, and we'll continue. So why are we doing that? This is, 30 years, celebrating the 30 years. We don't usually get to go around and visit this many places. Sometimes we visit just, 3 or 4 places a year. This is 30 to celebrate 30 years, but also to set us up to empower us towards the 2030 vision, which is to see things like what you just heard about in Lebanon and Egypt happen all across 20 other countries. Right now, we've just spent time 2 weeks on the ground in a security sensitive country, laying foundations and lots of coffee, meeting with people, talking with people, developing teams, all those things. And doors are opening wide in these places. And there's other advanced teams, we call them, where they go in and they begin building those relationships, kind of answering one of the other questions that came up. How do you build relationships? We go in, we pray, we fact find, we learn who's doing what. That's a big part. I say this to people, there's always far more happening in locations, even places you think nothing's happening and you've never heard anything about. There's far more happening in those locations than what you know. So really make sure you go in with this inquisitive mind of fact finding, finding out, prayer. Go slowly, get the strategy. Every place has the same pioneering principles, but applied in different ways. And we want to make sure we have the unique strategy for that location. And that's coming to pass. So in order to empower us to see that spread across these nations, where we see Bible colleges and church planners and near culture missionaries mobilized across this region, the target this year is to have 30 new organizations. We average almost 70 organizations a year partnering with Club 1040. And so the goal is to get 30 to get us up to 100. And the good news is already this year, we've seen 7 new organizations partner. So we just have 23 new organizations to go by the end of the year. And if you're interested, you can go to CLUB1040.com, look under the heading there, and there is an image that shows a building. It says 30 on there. If you're a church and you want to partner, or if you're a business, or if you're a foundation and you want to connect, you can do that. Or you just make a mention. If you want more information, you can click on there. There's more information there, but you can also message us and we'll set up a Zoom meeting with you as an organization to be able to share a little bit more what's happening. But also, if you're not an organization, you're an individual. So 30 organizations, 300 individuals, families connecting. We have right around 190 or so individuals or families. So we kind of break our partner base up into organizations and individuals, and around 190 partner on average on a monthly basis. And we want to see 300 new partners. So we get up to that 500 mark. So by the end of this year, 2025, it'd be perfect for us to be at that place where we have 100 organizations and 500 individuals. And so in order to facilitate that, oh, by the way, we're making progress. We've had 18 new families or individuals partner at least $30 a month. And so we're making progress that way, and it's significant progress, really. And I believe by the end of this year, as we travel around, we'll be sharing things with the kids. We'll be sharing the kids' curriculum. We'll be sharing the books, Club 1040 Kids, but we'll also be sharing in adult services, giving people an opportunity to connect that way. Also be doing team meetings and leadership training for organizations as we go, not just churches, but also businesses and foundations that have partnered with us. So anyway, that's, if you're interested and you're an individual and you say, yeah, I'd like to be a part of this. I want to be a part of empowering Club 1040 to, I want Club 1040 to be my method and my tool to spread truth, light, and love across the region, the Middle East, North Africa region, and to see people train like that couple at the beginning of this live, so that they can, see their impact massively expand. And you can make that happen in other people's lives. So as an individual, you say, I want to be a part of that. Just go on the CLUB1040.com website, look for that image of the building that has 300 there. We're building together, and be another one of those 300 individual partners. So God bless you. Remember, if you haven't got your 30-year magazine in the post, in the mail, and you want it, then make sure we have your address. And we love you. We appreciate you. Thank you so much. And don't forget to ask us questions. I don't think I have any other questions on the list, but join the club. Together, we're better. Together, we go further. Together, we go faster. God bless.